What do you know is true without evidence? What are you certain of, right down to your bones, without proof? That the key to happiness is low expectations. The Truman Show was made to make me think the entire world watching my every move was a ridiculous notion. But I know better. I remember watching the episode where you watched that movie. That my cousin stole my holographic first edition Charizard Pokemon card back in the early 2000s. I know for certain that the comments on this post would look different on Facebook. My brother deleted my game save on purpose. He was old enough to read. He knew what he was doing. That my last boss secretly hated me even though we had, on the surface, a very positive relationship. My ex-boss used COVID as an excuse to make me redundant because I was the only member of his team to be hired by someone else and not him. FCK that guy forever. For every sock that goes missing a Tupperware lid appears. My cat knocked over the water glass on purpose. Casey Anthony killed her daughter and her parents know it too. Edit. Thanks for the 2 rewards everyone. There's a travel agency that's been around in my town for as long as I can remember. I wholeheartedly believe it's a front for the mob. You better keep quiet or you'll be taking an unexpected trip. We're all too in over our heads. Getting a name tattooed on your body is a curse both on you and the person whose name is on you for as long as you wear it. That a lot more famous actors than we realize are secretly the children of other famous actors from the previous generation. I call it the Hollywood bastard theory. If I'm stuck in traffic and switch lanes because the other lane looks like it will move faster, the lane I just switched from will automatically go faster. My cat is in a constant superposition of having recently eaten and being starved to death. At least, that's how she acts. Also, any of my feelings about myself can't contradict or disprove those no matter how hard you try. Not that it is something I believe to be true, but something that I often think about is the butterfly effect. Like little things I do during the day could affect the total outcome of my day. The world is not ready for a bald Messi. George R.R. Martin will never finish the last Game of Thrones book. I watched Flight 93 go down. I would never share that in real life because it's f***ing grim and no one would believe you. The geography of the reports are off. I saw it clear as day from Kent State's main campus, Ohio. I didn't know what I was seeing other than I remember thinking that plane is way too low. We had an aviation college so planes were common, and too big and it's jerking around like how a toddler drives a Power Wheels truck. Full stop. Continued on to class. You don't want to be late even at a liberal college. What you almost certainly saw was it being taken over by the hijackers. During the hijacking, which was at 9:28 am, maybe a 9:30 class, during the takeover it was very jerky and lost a lot of altitude. And it took a while for the hijackers to stabilize it and get it under control and turn it around. Edit. If you look at the track of Flight 93 it likely would have been visible from the Kent State campus on its westward path. On its post-hijack return flight it passed farther south. Over the top of West Virginia. Burger King hash browns are just tater tots. That I have felt love. I'm really not sure if this is what others have felt and called love. But if it is not, I don't know what is. 1 in every 3 or 4 people is not capable of critical thinking. And I'm not making some kind of point about politics or anything. I mean those people are literally incapable of taking in information and synthesizing it with other information and coming to their own conclusions. They're basically robots programmed by whatever source is most convincing to them. McDonald's Coke hits different than any Coke I've ever had. Edit. Thanks for the awards, kind strangers. That being sick with a bacterial infection as an infant and almost dying is the reason why I am never sick despite being a super unhealthy person. I saw a massive bee when I was younger and when I tell someone they'd never believe me. Most of this is just busy work. Flat earthers are just doing it for attention. They really don't think the earth is flat. I'm really effing lucky. But like in a subtle way, like if there's a 95% chance I'll get hurt doing something stupid, I'll come out unscathed. Sometimes I think there's a guardian angel watching over me, making sure I don't kill myself by being an idiot. You growth, the tree could fall into a dumpster full of dicks and come out sucking his thumb. Dogs go to doggy heaven. As an Asian, I can safely say without a doubt that you don't need cups to measure the water when cooking rice. You do if you work for BBC Food. Teddy Roosevelt cured his childhood asthma by sheer force of will. Good music makes life worth living. That Andy Dufresne was guilty in the Shawshank Redemption. It's never actually proven that he didn't kill his wife and her lover. We just have his word and a story made up by an inmate that wanted to be liked by Andy and his friends. Also, what are the chances that his wife and lover were murdered the same night that Andy was going to kill them himself? Before he changed his mind? Oh. Just realize that the entire story is narrated by Red. And Red really doesn't know whether Andy was guilty or not. Gut bacterial imbalance can change a person fundamentally, physically, mentally, emotionally. One day they're going to cure some impossibly vexing diseases and conditions when they figure out that it's all connected to what lives in your guts. Y'all. The question says without evidence. Life exists outside of Earth. I can't imagine a universe where we are the only life. My sister ate the whole ice cream box without asking my parents. Edit. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. But she didn't leave any ice cream. I don't know what happened to the box. There is some Godzilla shit at the bottom of our oceans. Deep sea gigantism will not fail me. Since the Manhattan Project, building of the nuke during World War II by a small group of scientists with unlimited resources, governments billionaires got spooked, and science, with a capital S, is no longer a free market of ideas, where any good idea can get pursued. Instead, scientists are very carefully guided towards projects with a funding model that is quite perverse. Source: I'm a public funded scientist who's published in Cell. Still no real evidence for this though. That 1-2 generations down the line, our use of technology will lead to extreme mental health issues. I hate how much I use my phone. I sometimes daydream about going back to a flip phone without the ability to access social media. I'll scroll through social media for hours every day, telling myself you need to do something better with your time. You hate this? Just put the phone down and do something else. Have a funny meme. I am essentially a good, decent person. I may not act this out successfully. It's the fact that I keep trying to act it out relentlessly that makes it true. We judge people based on their actions. That actual, proper snuff films exist. There's too much depravity and perversion in the world for that not to be the case. To add to that, I've often had the thought, has someone done, insert possibly very harmful weird stupid sex act here, with accompanying very dangerous object? Followed by, well, it's very likely considering over 7 billion people have been alive on this planet. A non-zero percentage of which have f'd a horse. I exist. And if it really is all the Matrix, I don't have any bones anyway. Blue pill please. I'm extremely, not really, certain that nobody has any free will. And this universe will play out a certain way no matter what. And no other variations of it will ever exist. My reasoning is based on physics, chemistry. The electric signals that drive our brains or the chemical reactions inside our body are exactly defined and can never occur differently. In addition to that, I'm also pretty sure that our sense of consciousness is a continuous effect rather than a discrete one. Meaning, there is not a point in our aging development when suddenly a flip is switched and we become what we collectively define as self-aware and conscious. Rather, the network of nerve impulses, sensory connections, and constantly attempted learned responses eventually build up this sensation that we describe as being conscious, where we're constantly processing sensory data and reflecting on it and deriving behaviors off of them. That people are meant to live communally. We come from tribal societies. Everyone today is trying to fill a void and find where they belong. I believe this is because everyone subscribes to these intangible ideological tribes. But what they are actually looking for is the family-like support network that our ancestors had. Individualism is killing many of us. The American family splits up so easily. People are so much stronger and happier together, especially when they belong to a small collective community where people are trying to better the community and not just themselves. Having the most upvotes doesn't mean the statement is true. There are too many people on our planet. COVID is, among other diseases, a way of Mother Nature to eliminate the overpopulation. The Pope's TS in the woods. I know that love is never easy. Being with anyone for any extended period of time is hard and takes work from both partners. It doesn't matter how well you get along. If things are easy, someone is probably not speaking up about something. All the books on this planet would not suffice to list every cruelty that man has ever inflicted, driven by the certainty of such knowledge. This is controversial, but I'm certain of it. Madeleine McCann was killed by her parents. It was probably an accident. There was history of them using sleeping pills or medicine of some description to get their troublesome children to settle down. So they might have overdosed her. But I'm sure it was them and nothing will convince me otherwise. Jar Jar is a Sith Lord. Change my mind. That we are screwing up our only house in the name of the economy. A bit more light-hearted than some stuff on here. But I believe that your state of mind, vibe, energy, whatever you want to call it, when preparing food will reflect in the food itself. If you're stressed to hell and make dinner, no matter how well cooked or presentable the food is, there's gonna be bad juju in it and it'll just taste different. Semicolon. I'm generally a skeptic, but this is my ride or die superstition. Edit. Whoa. Gold. Thank you. Kind stranger. Edit number 2. Sweet cheeses. This blew up. Big shout out to you Lost Fortunes for the cute little award. Just to clarify to a few dissenters, which is fine, many men, many minds. Right? Comma. I actually work in the food industry. Got my culinary degree, worked back of house and front of house in restaurants and hotels. The whole nine. I've seen James Beard winning chefs create great food while absolutely losing their shti. It still never comes out as good as the shti that they make for staff's family meal on a slow day. Not everyone is meant to raise a child. Just because you can biologically create a child or financially support one does not mean you are meant to raise one. My phone is listening to me and targeting ads. I will have a conversation with someone about something totally random such as vacations in Sicily and then ads for it start appearing within a few hours. Life has no greater meaning. It's only what you make of it. Deja vu comes from previous dreams. Lizard people shrink themselves and sneak into laundry rooms all over the planet to steal socks at night. The simple law of demand and supply indicates that it isn't the corporations that are destroying the planet. It is actually the unchecked rising population that is creating demand for more and more products and services, which is allowing these corporations to become as big and dominant as they are. They cannot produce goods in such large quantities unless there was demand for it, and there is. But no environmental non-profit or activist will go after the human population growth because having a target on a large corporation ensures big financial backing. People are more willing to fund a battle against an own larger entity than against their own kind, no matter how important their role might be in setting up that large entity. I believe without evidence that overpopulation is a self-correcting problem. As cities grow, land value and education increase, effectively creating a stronger and stronger incentive to have fewer kids. That is why every single country stops having massive amounts of children as soon as they develop. And even within the same country, the more developed areas have fewer kids. That if there is a creator, God, of some sort, then it is beyond our comprehension and isn't even remotely like our beliefs. Humans at their nature suck. They are greedy, prideful, and overall just terrible. The reason certain people are seen as being good people is that they are able to suppress these emotions better than others. I have a bullshitty job. Despite many colleagues telling me that I'm irreplaceable and integral. My job wouldn't exist if the system, company, worked correctly. Obviously I have no proof of this. Because I can't see what happens if all the systemic problems that my bullshitty job manages are fixed. They are, you know, also part of the system. But I know, deep in my bones, that my position shouldn't need to exist. That when we die we cease to exist. We can finally get back to normal. Before I was conceived I had no consciousness. After I die I will have no consciousness. That's my logic. People with lower IQs are happier because they aren't constantly overthinking. Looking for self-transcendence. Analyzing everything around them. All identities are valid. Nobody but you can tell you who you are. Slavery is wrong in the prison industrial complex, therefore must be dismantled. Citizens should not be afraid of their government. The government should be afraid of its citizens. Being a sword to children is wrong. Trans men are men and trans women are women. It is impossible to become a billionaire without exploiting the working class. My life would have been much harder if I wasn't white, cisgender, and male. Bread always falls on the buttered side. I swear internet people drop bread every day. I have never dropped my bread. Spiders come from hell. I don't believe in hell. All natural things are a part of a cycle. Everything that has ever existed is natural. Everything is part of a larger cycle. The universe is a cycle. The Big Bang is only a step in that cycle. Something came before. Lack of entropy will not be the end. Something will come after. Nature never makes just one of something. This has all likely happened elsewhere. Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide. Nor did Jeffrey Epstein. No matter how loosely you interpret the law. Donald Trump has committed or attempted to commit dozens of felonies in his life. Epstein didn't kill himself. I don't believe he survived. I know he died. But I know it wasn't suicide. He had the dirt on Trump, Clinton, Prince Andrew, and God only knows who else, and he was going to testify that they were all child rapists who had bought the use of children for sex from him. So somebody made the problem go away. Don't know who or exactly how. But I can't see how it could be anything else. That there is a massive pedo ring regarding a lot of past present presidents along with other country leaders and famous people. God does not exist. I'm on the opposite end of the argument, but I guess there's no way to convince each other otherwise, lol. Most company CEOs don't really know what they are doing. Whether their business thrives or fails has more to do with luck than anything else. There are exceptions. But most of them have a completely warped sense of their own brilliance. Poop tastes bad. There is, in fact, proof of this. When I was younger, my little sister shoved poop in my mouth. I know it's a stretch. But I sincerely believe that we exist within a universe, within a multiverse, within a megaverse, within an omniverse. All of these words that end with verse are essentially larger versions of the previous term. I also believe, therefore, that all movies are technically based on a true story. Humans don't deserve shitty of what we have. And that you can learn absolutely anything if you pay enough attention while doing it. Talent is just the speed at which you can make it. Kayla is a f-king bitch. That you're less likely to get sick if you don't baby your immune system. For example, my dad grew up on a dairy farm and he is a very tough guy and not afraid to get down in the dirt, and I have never, not one day in my life, seen him sick. On the other hand, I had a teacher who was constantly using hand sanitizer and wipes and different things to clean every possible space, and she always was sick or coughing, etc. Is it that surprising that someone with a job that requires being physically fit gets sick less than someone with a sedentary job in close proximity to 20-2000, depending on the school and how it works, children? That my ex was cheating on me for probably 2 years with her current, so no proof at all other than suspicion and logic. 2 points really stick out in my mind. We started dating in a poly relationship that became monogamous after a few months. We were dating for 3-4 years before I introduced her to the other guy because he was an acquaintance from about a decade previous. Right after they met, she suddenly wanted to talk about becoming poly again. I didn't put that together until over a year after I'd broken up with her. The second part is that I heard through the Giapavine they got engaged exactly a year to the day after I called it off, meaning that say I called it off on the 15th of whatever month. They got engaged on the 16th of the following year. Maybe it's just me being neurotic, but I would tend to think getting engaged on that date is significant, like an anniversary. That would mean they started their relationship literally the day after I called it off. I mean, if that isn't suspicious, I don't know what is. That our phone's devices are listening to us, even if they say they're not. My wife and I can be talking about something, and seconds later we're seeing ads for those exact things online. This isn't something that's happened once and could have just been a coincidence. It happens regularly. Between climate change and a probable environmental collapse, pandemics in a society that just doesn't seem to give a shit, a seemingly irreversible declining middle class with a smaller but ever more powerful kleptocratic class, and global political ideology that is creeping closer and closer to totalitarianism, that I have signed up my completely innocent and joyful 18-month-old toddler to a life of suffering that will absolutely eclipse my own struggles and hardships.